Hello and welcome to Living the Dream for General Practitioners, the podcast for doctors and clinic leaders who want to learn about pathways, strategies and opportunities for living and working in Australia. Join me, Gemma Gough, and my expert guests as we share stories, unlock the secrets to recruitment success, share tips for moving across the world, navigating new cultures and so much more. This show is brought to you by Health Recruitment Australia. Now sit back, relax and enjoy this episode. Welcome to Living the Dream for General Practitioners podcast series. My name is Gemma Gough and I am the co-founder and managing director of Health Recruitment Australia. Today I wanted to record this podcast in the efforts to help clinic leaders to better understand the recruitment process for general practitioners. So at HRA, we are often asked about the process for onboarding general practitioners, how long it takes, what's the process, and there are quite a few misconceptions. And so I thought if I recorded this podcast, it might help everyone have a better understanding of the process. So to give you a bit of background, I've worked in healthcare myself for well over 20 years. And for the last 7 years, I have overseen the day-to-day running of 2 general practice clinics. So I'm very aware of the need for general practitioners in primary healthcare at the moment, the strains on the emergency departments and the pressures that clinic leaders are working under at the moment. And so I hope to be able to help you all through HRA to recruit GPs and to keep a steady flow of general practitioners coming into your clinics for the next few years. So one of the first things we are asked at the agency here is how long does it take to recruit a GP? Some people think that it's just a couple of months, a quick seek advert and the GP is working with you, and that couldn't be further from the truth. It takes about 12 to 18 months for a GP to actually start working at your clinic. And that's generally if they're coming from overseas, which the majority of them are at this stage. I thought maybe I will go through sort of step by step on how the process works. And as always, if anyone has got any questions after watching this podcast, you can certainly reach out to our team and we'll be happy to help you. So the first step is for clinics to decide what kind of candidate they're looking for. So what are you looking for? A male GP, a female GP? Are you looking for someone with a certain specialty? Are you looking for someone to work full time? Do you need them to work out of hours? Will they have any hospital duties or nursing home duties? So I have a real thought as to the kind of candidate that you're looking to onboard. And what are you prepared to offer this GP in terms of sign-on bonus, visa sponsorship, relocation allowance? What's the package that you're going to be offering that GP? Then you can liaise with a recruitment agency, and I would recommend that. I think there's a lot of benefit to working with a recruiter. I know there is a lot of stigma around recruitment agencies. There's been a lot of bad blood with clinics and agencies in the past, and I'm hoping Health Recruitment Australia can actually put an end to that, because recruiters do work incredibly hard behind the scenes to screen GP applicants, to do a lot of advertising on your behalf. We use a lot of connections that you wouldn't necessarily have as your clinic leaders. So we do pride ourselves on making sure, certainly through Health Recruitment Australia, that we get the right fit for your clinic. We have hundreds and hundreds of GPs on our database, but we don't just pick a GP and send them your way. There's a lot of thought that goes into making sure that you get the right candidates, the right fit for your clinic. Once you've selected a recruitment agency, then, you need to come up with a recruitment strategy. So where are you looking to post adverts on websites, social media, mail drops, phone calls? How do you want the recruitment agency or how do you think the recruitment agency will be able to find that right fit for you? You need to allow time for GPs to actually apply for the position. Again, this isn't something that just happens overnight. You might need to wait a couple of weeks for GPs actually, write up their CVs and cover letters and send them through to the agency or directly to the clinics, and the screening process to take place. So hopefully you'll have a good number of applicants, and so you need to spend some time screening those applicants and making sure that they meet the criteria that you set for yourself right at the start: male, female, hours to work, etc. GPs also actually need to go through a credential verification process, and this is something a lot of general practices don't realise. So they need to go onto platforms such as Epic, where they upload all of their medical degrees and all the information on there to make sure that GPs are actually eligible to work in Australia. Not everyone is. It very much depends on where they get their primary medical degree. They need to carry out comparability assessments. So this will determine what sort of pathway that a GP is eligible to practice under, if they need supervision, what level of supervision, do they not need supervision, do they need to sit exams before they're eligible to work in Australia. There's lots of things that go on before a GP can actually even have an interview with you. And as a recruiter, that's one of the things I need to make sure that they tick those boxes before they essentially land in your inbox. Once we've sort of screened all of the GPs and made sure that they are eligible to work in your practice, and this also can relate to the location of your practice. We're all very mindful of DPA and the locations. So again, that's part of our screening process to make sure that you are interviewing GPs that are actually eligible to work in your particular practice. It takes a little bit of time to work out interview times, depending on if the GP is currently working, if they work full time, what the time difference is, your availability. Everyone is so busy at the moment. So making priority to interview these GPs is actually quite important. So once you've interviewed the GP, if you're then looking to offer the GP a position in your practice, you'll need time to draw up your service agreements or employment contracts, however you're going to be onboarding that GP, emailing those through to the GP, who then needs time to review those documents. So some may wish to take further legal advice. Some might be interviewing at other clinics. Some might come back to you with various questions or concerns about the content of the agreements. And some may also wish to speak to other practitioners at your clinic. So if, for example, a business manager or a practice manager is interviewing the GP, they may also wish to speak to a GP who is currently working at your practice so they can get an opinion from an actual clinician. If the GP decides that they do want to proceed and they sign the documents and they send those back to you, then that's fantastic. But there's still a long way to go before they're able to work in your practice. So if they're a non-VR GP, so they will need to sit a pesky exam. Now, this is clinic specific or location specific, so it's not something they can do before they get to the interview stage. So when they sit the pesky, it is very much based on the demographic in your community, and essentially to make sure that that GP is safe to work in your practice with their current knowledge and skill set. There is a few months waiting list at the moment to actually sit the pesky exam. So again, that sort of adds some level of time to the onboarding process, and then waiting for the results to come back too. A lot of the non-VR GPs actually do want to take some time to study for the exam, and it's very much based around those sort of red flags. So it's about safety. The governing bodies want to make sure that the GPs will be safe when they work in your practice. Applying for Apiro registration, now this can be a bit of a minefield in itself. Lots of paperwork, lots of forms to fill in. Again, we can support GPs and practices with the onboarding of the GPs in that regard. My understanding is that Apiro at this stage actually just meet once a month to go through the applications that they've received. So if you haven't completed the documents properly and they do come back with you to you with further questions, then you will be pushed to the following month for further discussions. So again, making sure that you've ticked all the boxes and submitted all the supporting documents with the application is really important. Apiro ID checks. Now, these used to be in-person ID checks, so doctors actually had to be physically present in Australia and have their ID checks. Thankfully, that is a thing of the past, and these are generally done via Zoom or similar platform directly with Apiro. So that has enabled the process to speed up just a little bit, and that's something we've been really grateful for. The next thing, once registration is obtained, or the doctor essentially receives in principle approval from Apiro for their registration, that's the time you would then submit your visa nomination. Now, visas come in two parts. So the clinic nominates the GP to work for them, and the application process. So when the GP essentially says, I want to work with this clinic. So the GP can't submit their application until you've submitted your nomination. So, and again, you wouldn't do that until you've actually had your Apiro registration come through. That would be a complete waste of money if Apiro say, no, I'm sorry, that GP can't work with you. So the visa nomination is submitted and the visa application is submitted, and they can be done at the same time. There is the ability to click a button in the immigration portal when you're sending through the visa to say that if one party is unsuccessful, it's not approved, that the other person can essentially withdraw their application and get a refund. It is a bit of a lengthy process, but it can be done. So visas is that next stage. Once the visa has been approved, you can then go forward to the Medicare side of things. So requesting the provider and prescriber numbers. And this kind of is done essentially in parallel with requesting the tax file numbers and the Australian business numbers and opening business transaction accounts. If you are employing the GP, you can use the Medicare forms and submit those before the GP comes into Australia. But if you are working with a GP as an independent practitioner and the money is going directly into the GP's bank account, then you have to wait for the business transaction accounts to be open, so you've got that information to put on the Medicare forms. So Medicare, as we know, it can take some time to process those forms. There's no way of jumping to the top of the queue. They process in order that they're received, and so you just have to sit and be patient in that regard. To open a tax file number is a little bit tricky for overseas doctors. They have to be physically present in Australia for that to happen. Something happens in immigration once a GP comes through and they do border control, passport checks, then it opens up the portal in the tax file for the ATO, and they can apply for their tax file number. You can't request an Australian business number, so an ABN, unless you've got a tax file number. So this is that sort of domino effect. So you arrive into Australia, you apply for your tax file number, then they apply for the Australian business number, and both of those numbers are then needed for them to open a business transaction account with the banks. And that information then is put on to the majority of the other documents that they need. So opening, having Medicare, obtaining medical indemnity insurance, which would be the next. They need that information as well. Now, obviously, that's a huge amount of paperwork, and lots of it takes weeks and weeks and weeks for it to be processed. So you can see while the timeline is sort of 12 to 18 months for all of these things to happen. And we have to bear in mind that the GPs are also doing this while they're working, and they have families, and life is just ticking along for them as well. So we're expecting them to do all of this with your support, and if you're using a recruiter, with your recruiter's support, all whilst having busy lives. So we do have to be a little bit patient. On top of all of that, we're also expecting them to sell homes and give notice on their jobs and sell cars and have leaving parties and find a home here and buy a car here and all those sorts of things. Moving for them is absolutely massive. And as much as we want to get them into our clinics as quickly as possible and working, we have to be practical and we have to be realistic with these timeframes. So if you're looking to recruit a GP in the next 12 to 18 months or beyond, now is the time to start looking at that process, liaising with a recruiter, coming up with a plan, and acknowledging that this isn't something that happens within just 5 minutes. There is a lot that goes into this. The recruiters work incredibly hard behind the scenes to try and keep things on track. and to make sure that there's no obstacles for you or for the onboarding GP. I'm hoping that that wasn't too rambly for everyone, and that you kept up with the process. You can see that there's a lot involved. And at Health Recruitment Australia, we really do want to work with clinics, with clinic leaders, and provide that education and to help you to grow your teams and build a sustainable future for your general practices. So if you would like to reach out to me or my team to discuss how we can support you, that would be fantastic. Please head to our website and fill out the inquiries form, or you can email us at recruitment@healthrecruitmentaustralia.com.au, and one of the team will be in touch. Well, I hope that helps everyone. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Living the Dream for General Practitioners. Don't forget to subscribe on your favourite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. At Health Recruitment Australia, we want to see more happy GPs, thriving medical practices and healthy communities. If you'd like to join us on our mission, visit healthrecruitmentaustralia.com.au to explore opportunities and get in touch. Thanks for listening.